Now, when you get home, I want you also to remember to be mindful of the seasons. I've got a little topic now called the 4 major lessons in life to learn. I've done this sometime in the past, but it's been a while. And for all of you that are brand new, I'd like to have you pick up on what I'm about to share with you right now. I think it's going to be valuable. It's going to be important. So jot this phrase down. Life and business is like the changing seasons. This is some of the most valuable information I got when I was a young man just starting out. Life and business is like the seasons. And then here's the next phrase. You cannot change the seasons. That's impossible. You can't rearrange the seasons. You cannot say, well, I'll take 5 harvest times, no winters, a few springs and a summer or 2. You can't rearrange them. The seasons are going to come, however they're going to come, and you cannot change that. So you cannot change the seasons, but make this note, you can change yourself. That was the message I got when I was 25 years old with someone who took the time to teach me, you can change yourself out. And by the way, only human beings have this extraordinary ability to make dramatic changes in their life. All of the life forms except human beings are driven by instinct in the genetic code. In America, the goose can only fly south in the winter. And why does the goose have to fly south in the winter in America? Because he's a goose. He can't fly any other direction, but that's not true with human beings. Human beings can go north, they can go south, they can go they can go west. Human beings can live one way for 5 years and then tear up that script and live a totally different way the next 5 years. Humans can do that. I'm asking you to utilize your power as a human being and change your life to whatever degree you want it changed. If you want your income to change, I'm telling you it's within your power. With Herbalife marketing and these explosive, incredible products, you can do that any year you choose. You can make incredible changes in your life. You're not a tree. You don't have to stay, you're not a goose, you don't have to fly. Yes, I'm telling you, anytime you want to, you can say, I'm going to change my attitude. I'm going to change my income. I'm going to change my abilities. I'm going to do more than I've ever done before. Take on that as your God-given right as a human being to change your life to whatever degree you want it to change. As I've watched Mark these last 17 years, I'm telling you, was one of those that took up the challenge being a human being to drastically change his life these years since he was about 20, from the last 20 years before he put together the Herbalife products. What a change, what a transformation. And if Mark can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. If the president's team members have done it, there isn't anybody in here that can't do it. Dramatically change the course and the quality of your life. So learn the value of the seasons now. You can't change them, but you can change yourself. Now here's the 4 major lessons in life to learn. Number 1, learn how to handle the winters. It's a fact of life. The winters follow the fall, the harvest and prey. Tell how often 6,000 years that we know of recorded history. Winter comes after fall, night comes after day. Difficulty follows opportunity. Recession always comes after expansion. It's been the rhythm of life for the last 6,000 years of recorded history. Now there's all kinds of winters. There's the winter of the season, but there's all kinds of other winters. There's political winters. What a winter that was when the Nazis marched into Prague. What a winter it was when the communists put up the Iron Curtain. What a winter it was when Stalin finally took power in Russia. What a winter it was when Benito Mussolini took power in Italy. What a winter it was in Japan. What a winter it was in many parts of the world back during World War II. One of the longest winters, political winters in recorded history. So the winters are going to come. The winter of sickness, the winter of disappointment, the winter of devastation, social winters, economic winters, personal winters. When your heart is smashed in 1,000 pieces and the nights are unusually long, it's simply called wintertime. But the winters are inevitable. So it has been for the last 6,500 years recorded history. You say, well, Mr. Rohn, oh, and what can I do about the winters of life in World War II? We marched against the winter and finally the spring came. We marched against the tyranny of communism and finally the walls came tumbling down. We marched against the tyranny of the Nazis and finally liberated the world for democracy and freedom. And that's what I'm telling you. It's possible for you to conquer your winters. And some are small little winters when you get your first refund. A little small winter when you show up. Someone said, right, they put together the meeting, got everything ready. ready to show the story, ready to do the meeting, and nobody showed up. It's called a little piece of winter time. But anyway, that's going to come in the winter of a divorce, the winter of a death in the family, the winter of a tragedy. Some things we can't understand, but here's what we do know. It's possible for us to get through the winter. Here's what's exciting about the passing of time. It takes you through whatever you're experiencing at the moment. That's what time will do, take you through the winter. Now, how do you handle the winters? Make this little note. You can get better, and you can get stronger, and you can get wiser. There's no winter that you can't overcome. There's no winter that you can't figure out how to survive. There's no winter powerful enough that you cannot. With the ingenuity of being a human being, especially with the Herbalife opportunity of figuring out a way to get through it. Hang on, make this note. Winters don't last forever. Okay? Yes, the tyranny of the Nazis lasted for about 5 years, but it was soon over. Yes, the tyranny of communism lasted for 75 years, but finally that long winter was past. So become wiser. Become stronger. Become better to handle the winters that are going to come in your life. And with the strength of the Herbalife family, with the strength of the training, with the strength of these incredible products, with self-esteem bursting out all over with the skills you're going to develop, you're going to be able to handle whatever comes your way. I promise you that. Now here's the next season. It's called the season of spring. And make this note, if you haven't made it in your head already, make it in your notes. Spring always comes. Sometimes the winter seems long. The night seems like it'll never pass. But sure enough, eventually the night has to give way to the day. Winter has to give way to the spring. The difficult time has to give way to opportunity. The recession has to give way finally to the progression into the expansion. And I don't know what kind of winters you've been through, but I want you to know when the Herbalife story reached your ears, when the Herbalife marketing reached your consciousness, and when this opportunity was passed along to you. I know that for a lot of you it's called springtime has arrived. The long night is past and opportunity is here. Spring always comes. Just hang in there when the night is long. Hang in there when it's dark. Hang in there when you can't figure it out, and your spring will surely come. Now here's what you must learn to do. Jot this note down. Take advantage of the spring. Just because spring comes, there's no sign you're going to look good in the harvest. You must do something with it. You must seize that moment. It is true that the dark time doesn't last forever. But here's what you've got to also understand. Spring doesn't last forever. In space language, we call it a window of opportunity when they get ready to blast off the rockets headed for the moon. Whatever, there's a certain period of time. That's the time you've got to go. If you don't go, then you've got to wait for another whole cycle to turn. Springtime is here called Herbalife for you. I'm asking you to take advantage of it. Tell the story, pass out the literature, make the calls, conduct the meetings, see the people. Grab and seize this opportunity like you've never seized anything in your life before to make something remarkable of it. This Herbalife opportunity is called springtime. Take advantage. Don't be lazy, especially in the spring. Don't be distracted, especially in the spring. What if you asked the farmer to go bowling in the spring? He would think you were insane. The farmer would say you can go bowling in the winter, you can go bowling after the crop is in, but you certainly can't go bowling in the spring. And I want you to know, after this extravaganza, an extraordinary new spring is upon us. If there was ever a time when you get back home, this is the time to massively increase your numbers. Get up a little earlier, stay up a little later. Pour it on. Take advantage of this spring. It's here. Now, here's my next point. You've got to take advantage of every spring that comes because there's only a handful. Life isn't forever. It finally comes to an end. One of the Beatles wrote, all things must pass. The sunrise doesn't last all day. Spring doesn't last all summer. The sunset doesn't last all night. We all have periods of time, pieces of time. And when those pieces of time comes, what you've got to do is take advantage of each time that comes. At the longest life is brief. At the longest life is just a small period of time. So don't waste your springs. Don't waste the opportunity to talk to someone. Don't waste the opportunity to have a meeting. Don't waste the opportunity to come to next extravaganza. Don't waste the chance each spring that comes. Take advantage of them because there's just a few. Don't let them all pass. Take advantage. Now here's 3 in the course of the seasons. 1 is the winter, 2 is the spring, 3 is the summer. The summer is called challenging time. In the summer, we've got 2 things going for you, zones opportunity, but the other is to watch out for your enemies. nourish your values in the spring. In the summer, like a mother, nourish the values distributors you've got. Make sure that they get plenty of nourishment from you, plenty of training from you, plenty of understanding from you. Don't be short, don't be careless. Give them your best like a mother would give the best to her child. Give them the best you've got just because they're not part of your immediate family. They're a part of your Herbalife family. They deserve the best nourishment you've got. Don't shortchange them on food. That'll help them to grow. Don't shortchange them on information that will help them to learn. Don't shortchange them on ideas that'll help them to transform their lives. Be like a mother in the summer and give the best you've got to everybody you can reach and everybody you can touch. It's called opportunity in the making. Be careful of those around you. Even when your check comes from Herbalife, you say, well, Herbalife sends my check. Well, here's what you've got to understand. It's not the 13th floor that sends you your check. It's not the computer that sends you your check. Some live human being had to make it possible for that money to finally get to you. So remember, it is human beings that make our lives valuable. It's not systems, it's not numbers in the marketing, it's not computers, it's not the printout, it's not points, and it's not royalties. What makes us all rich beyond our wildest imagination is people. So be mindful of investing in the summer in every person you can possibly invest in. They will make you wealthy. Now here's what else you must do in the summer. Like a father, you must look out for your enemies. And believe me, we're going to have some in the political world. During our lifetime, there's been many enemies of freedom, enemies of democracy, enemies of free enterprise. It wasn't that many years ago that it was illegal to make a profit in the communist countries. It wasn't that long ago until democracy was not flourishing like it is today in America. You know, we've had 200 years of freedom and democracy and free enterprise for the last 200 years. Some have not been so fortunate, some have not been so lucky. Let us learn to appreciate it when it does come our way. But there's going to be political enemies. There's going to be social enemies. There's going to be people that will be envious of Herbalife, and they will not be your friends. But remember, like a father who would guard carefully his family. I'm asking you to stand guard over the family called Herbalife. Hey, I'm asking you to stand at the door. I'm asking you, whatever threatens you, threaten it back. Whatever pushes against you, push it back. Whatever wants to overwhelm you, like a father, stand up, take control, and do battle with your enemies wherever you find it. Now here's one more. We must also deal with the enemies within ourselves. Yes, we've got enemies on the outside. Saddam Hussein takes over Kuwait. We have to put together 500,000 troops, go kick him out of Kuwait so that liberty will continue to flourish. But some of the enemies are not way off in some distant country. Some of the enemies are not personified in the Hitlers of the world and the Stalins of the world. Some of the enemies are a lot closer than that. They are within, and I want to give you a list of some of the things to watch out for when you get back home. Called enemies within yourself. Here's the first one: indifference. Whatever you do, practice not being casual. You've got to shake off sometimes the lethargy that would say, oh, well, maybe it's not going to work for me, or I'll just go along and see what happens. I'm asking you, whatever you do, the intensity that you've gathered up here during this extravaganza, I want you to take this same intensity home with you. Don't be casual. Casualness creates casualties, whether it's in Herbalife or whether it's on the freeway. Go home with a renewed intensity. Don't let indifference take over. Here's the next one: indecision. Someone's mentioned it a couple of times on this stage. They've had to deal with it. You've got to deal with it. Indecision is called the thief of opportunity. Make decisions, even if it's a wrong decision. Do the very best you can. Make a decision and go with it. If it doesn't work out because it was a wrong decision, I'm telling you, that gives you experience now to make a better decision. Here's the next one. Doubt. We've all got to deal with the enemy of doubt. Cynicism has a unique way of crowding in on all of us. Being cynical about the government, being cynical about banks and money, being cynical about society, being cynical about the past, cynical about the future. You know, I'm asking you, don't let that disease grab you by the throat and ruin your chances to do well in Herbalife. Yes, it's easy to doubt that it can happen. It's easy to doubt. We've all got fears that want to crowd in. Here's one of the worst ones of all, and that is to doubt yourself. I know we look at Mark, glamorous, handsome, good-looking, extremely successful. Say, my gosh, I don't think that could happen for me. But I want you to know that Mark says, and I say to you that if it can happen to us, it can happen to anybody in this room. Don't doubt your own ability. Don't doubt your own strength. If Mark can make it through some tough times, you can make it through if Mark went through some strenuous times. You can go through those strenuous times when the nights were long for Mark. I'm telling you, he made it. He made it. You made it. If I can make it, you can make it if these people and the president's team can carve out an extraordinary story, second to none in the business community of the world. I'm telling you from these tables, this success can go right on back to the Millionaire team and the Get team and to everybody up there. Wherever you're sitting today, all of this belongs to all of you. Don't doubt that. Not for a minute. Next is worry. I mean, you got to worry some. But here's the clue. Don't let it conquer you. If it's 2:0 in the morning and your daughter's not home, yes, you got to worry. If you're in New York City and step off the curb and one of those yellow taxis is coming, yes, you better worry. But mark this down, let worry alarm you, but don't let it conquer you. We all need to be concerned. We all need to be concerned. If there's enemies around, we need to be concerned. If it isn't going well, yes, we need to be concerned. But I'm asking you to let it concern. Let it touch you. Let it alarm you, but don't let it conquer you. Take all of the worries you've got and try to drive them into the smallest corner you can possibly find. If you don't worry, we'll be like a mad dog loose in the house. It'll have you in the corner. So whatever your enemies are here, drive them into a small corner. Here's the next one over. Caution. Hey, in the spring, if you're too cautious, you never will plant the seed. If you're too cautious, you won't take the chance. If you're too cautious, you won't step out front. If you're so cautious, you probably never would have done your first meeting. Make this note. You got to take a chance. Drive your tendency to be too cautious. Drive into a small corner. Yes. You can't be gullible. No. You can't go for everything. Yes, you've got to be careful. Yes, but don't be so cautious that it paralyzes you. Don't be so cautious that it restricts your chance to do better. See if you can't conquer that. Here's the next one. Pessimism. Yes, there's the dark side. Yes, there's the problem side. Yes, there's the difficult side, but I'm telling you, it's not the only side. Yes, the glass is half empty, but it's also half full. Yes, there's the dark side, but there's the light side. Yes, the night comes, but so does the day. I'm telling you, don't be afraid of both sides. Opportunity and difficulty, chance and danger. Learn how to handle it all. Now, here's the last one. When you get back home, you've got to deal with it. I have to deal with it. We all have to deal with it. And that's complaining. Yes, there's room for a legitimate complaint. Yes, there's room for a legitimate business complaint. Yes, there's room for a legitimate complaint with the 13th floor. Yes, there's room for a legitimate complaint with the warehouse. Yes, there's room for a legitimate complaint once in a while with each other. But here's what I'm asking you. Don't let complaining master your life if you become a chronic complainer. I'm telling you, nobody wants to be around you. Chronic complainer. I wouldn't want you for a business partner. Don't let complaining conquer your life. See if you can't drive it into a small corner. That's the season of summer. Nourish your values like a mother and fight your enemies like a father. Even if you have to fight the enemies that are within yourself. Make this note. Don't become a victim of yourself. It's possible to become a victim of tragedy. It's possible to become a victim of gossip. It's possible to become a victim of the things that happened out there. But here's the most important thing. Don't become a victim of yourself. Forget the thief in the alley that's after your purse. What about the thief in your mind that's after your promise? The thief in your mind that says you're too short. The thief in your mind that says you're too tall. The thief in your mind that says, well, yes, it'll happen to people out in California, but it can't happen way over here on this side of the world. I'm asking you to conquer that thief, even though you find him in your own consciousness. I want to reassure you that you can do it. I want you to reassure you that you can make the decisions. I want to reassure you that no matter what the night, no matter what the storm, no matter what the difficulty, there isn't anybody here that can't figure it out. Find some things to do. Step at a time, yes. Minute at a time, yes. Day at a time, yes. Week at a time, yes. But there isn't anything you can't walk away from. There isn't any challenge you can't overcome. I want you to have that kind of belief in yourself. Now, here's the last season. Now here's the last season. It's called the season of harvest. After the long summer that we've been faithful, we've been disciplined, we've nourished our values like a mother. We fought our enemies like a father. Then, as one writer said of ancient script, in due time your harvest will come. And I want to give you that promise today. One more time, I want to remind you of the seasons. I want to remind you of the testimonials you've already heard on this stage. Those that have already gotten the diamonds, they've got the cufflinks, they got the earrings, those that have got the rewards. And some of those extraordinary rewards are going to be passed out on this stage here this evening. And that's going to be exciting to watch. Julio is going to be here. He's going to be fun to watch. Mark's been here. Nothing much more exciting than to watch Mark take charge. Watch Mark. Enjoy the proceeds of all that he's created in the last 15 years. It's exciting to watch the president's team and be excited, and I'm going to be happy to watch all of what unfolds here. But I'm also happy about watching myself. I can't believe where I am today. Can't believe what's happened to me, but sure enough, their rewards came. Mark's rewards came, and so did mine. And I want you to have that same opinion. Your day will come. Your harvest is sure to be there for you. Herbalife will be here to reward you every step of the way. Whatever small steps of progress you have to take them. Herbalife will be here to reward you. And when you finally walk across the stage like this evening, it will be a thrill beyond imagination. And then you'll be able to say, by gosh, the hard work has paid off. The lonely nights have paid off. Working hard every day has paid off, and my harvest has finally come. Now, a couple of things I want you to think about now in the harvest time. Here it is. Accept your personal harvest with full responsibility. No need to complain because it's your crop. If Herbalife does its best, Herbalife produces the finest products and the finest marketing. The support system, second to none. I've never seen the likes of a support system like Herbalife. If all of that's been provided for you, I'm telling you the rest is up to you. So whatever your harvest is, you've got to say, that's my harvest. But don't complain. Take responsibility. Now here's the next one. Don't apologize when you walk home with the rewards that you're going to be receiving here. Especially you and the President's team, Chairman's Club, Millionaire Team. Get Team You that have been especially honored by having these seats of honor here in this extravaganza. I want you to go home prouder than you've ever been before. And here's what I want you to say when you get home. I deserve the honor. I got it. But I deserved it. They don't pass out diamonds for non-work. We don't pass out diamonds for those that are just related to us. We don't pass out these extraordinary rewards and give honor to those who don't do the job. Those who do the work get the pay, and those that do the work get the honors. And I'm proud of all of you here today. On more than one occasion, I've heard Mark say, I'm proud of what I do. He's around a lot of top executives now around the world, and some of them aren't that proud of how they earn their money. But every dollar that Mark earns, every fortune and piece of fortune that he makes stacked on top of the other. I'm telling you, Mark says, I look myself in the mirror and say, I'm darn proud of the success I've got because of the service I've rendered to the people, and you can likewise be proud.
It's never that pleasant to talk about the negative, but we got to talk about it because life is part negative. These attitude diseases are like weeds that grow in the garden. It's a normal part of life. Here's a good phrase to note. Negative is normal. It's not successful, but it's normal. It's part of life. And here's the next key. In my opinion, you must learn to handle the negative. Don't ignore it. Handle it. Now, I know some people teach the other way, and listen to them and listen to me, and then make up your own mind, right? Don't be a follower, be a student. But I say you got to handle the negative. You don't have to live in it. You don't have to dwell on it, but you do have to handle it. I know some people teach, just turn your head real quick and say, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. They'll take your guard. So you've got to handle the negative. Here's what part of it is. It's called The Great War Between Good and Evil. Mr. Reynolds and I are working on a new book this year called The Great War Between Good and Evil. And there is a war on the minute you were born. You got involved in the war between good and evil, between darkness and light, between negative and positive, between evil and good, between tyranny and democracy, between weeds and human activity. I mean, the war is on. If democracy sleeps, guess who never sleeps? Tyranny. In the absence of light, guess what's automatic? Darkness. If good does not arouse itself and become active, guess what moves in evil? It's a war, a mental war, a physical war, a financial war between enterprise and ease, between accomplishment and failure. It's a war. That's why there's an Old Testament phrase that gives the best advice for human activity, when it says 6 days labor, 1 day rest. Now, I'm sure we've taken that to mean don't work all 7 days, take one off. Here's what it also means. Only take one off or you're liable to lose the war. Now we've got it down to 5 and 2, and maybe that's not too dangerous. I don't know. If God would have thought of 5 and 2, he might have made it 5 and 2. I don't know. You can't think of everything. But here's what it does mean. Enterprise is better than ease. If you rest too long, the jungle overtakes the village. Now here's the good news about the war between good and evil. Evil is no match for good, but good must be active. Weeds are no match for human activity. But if you stand still, how far in will they come all the way? They'll grow right up around your shoes. But if you get busy, how far back can you take them? As far as you wish. They're no match, but you must be active. Guess what the average years are after retirement? 66, which means don't retire. Your chances are too slim. Okay, the war between good and evil. The weeds. You got to make sure you recognize the negative, handle it, deal with it, and then go on. Let's make a list of the diseases of attitude that can wreck all your chances to do well. One of the words that destroys everything is called neglect. Neglect. And I found this out: a week of neglect could cost you a year of repair. It isn't worth it. So, what to be on the lookout for? Here's the list. If you were making it, you'd have the same list I've got, right? We're not covering anything new tonight. This is a reminding session, not a teaching session. But it doesn't hurt to go over it again. Here's the list. Attitude diseases. Number 1 is indifference, the shrug of the shoulder. The guy's not even concerned. He's just drifting. This is called the mild approach to life, a disease known as mildness. The guy says, well, I can't see getting all that worked up. Well, to be any kind of winner, you got to get worked up. There's one problem with drift. You cannot drift to the top of the mountain. And the good Lord said in the closing chapters of the Bible, here's the best way to live one way or the other. That's best hot or what's next? Best cold is next best of hot. Not the half-baked middle lukewarm, not too hot, not too cold. What a sad way to live. I think what it means is pick a direction and go with everything you got. Just pick one and go. Somebody says, yeah, but what if it's the wrong direction? You'll find out quicker. It won't take you 25 years to wake up and say, oh no, I've been walking the wrong road. I told my staff the other day, next best of prosperity is adversity. If one doesn't get you, pray for the other. We all do better for one of two reasons, inspiration or desperation. And I don't wish anything bad on you tonight. But if you're not inspired, I hope a wagon comes down your rut. Whatever it takes to get you to try harder, read more, set your goals and go for it. Somebody asked me one time, what quality would I pick if I wanted to work with somebody? And you know what I picked first? Number 1, strong feeling, please. Number 1, give me somebody that feels strong about most anything. I don't even care. Just so they believe it, even if they disagree with me. Wonderful. Just so they disagree vigorously. I'm not saying it's easy to win those kind of people to your point of view, but I'd rather do that than to try to resurrect people from the dead. Pump them up every month. Pump them up. Pump them up, I pass. The good Lord needs a leader for the early Christians. Remember the early days of the Christians? Not like today. If you were to stand up in the early days and say, I'm a Christian, cut off your head, toss you and your wife in jail, let you rot. I mean, those were ugly days. Being a Christian back then was not called socially acceptable. They didn't have 125,000 in the Los Angeles Coliseum to hear Billy Graham on a Sunday afternoon. Not back in those days. Back in those days when the Christians got in the Colosseum, it was a different story, right? I mean, the word was stay out of the Colosseum, especially on Sunday. Last Sunday was Lions 33 Christians. Nothing. See, those were mean, tough struggle days for the Christians. Now, when the days are mean and tough and struggling, you got to have some kind of leader. Do you know who the good Lord picked for the leader when the days were mean and ugly? Saul from Tarsus. That's who he picked, Saul. I'll tell you what, I would have picked him. You would have picked him. Anybody would have picked Saul. Saul was one of those incredible guys. Once he got into something, look out, everybody in the community knew what Saul was in. Because whatever, he joined you, flip all the switches, open up all the dials, turn on all the faucets, and go like med. He was known as All-Out Saul. I mean, he was something else now. At first, it wasn't working out well. Saul hated Christians, which makes a poor leader, right? I mean, that will work. Saul got this bug somewhere about the Christians. He got to hate and Christians, and he hated him so bad. Every time somebody would say Christian, he'd fly into a rage. And I guess he decided one life or one day. It was his mission in life to get rid of all the Christians he was, Saul, anyhow, could do most anything he wanted to. So he got in these letters of authority to go around to the various communities and hunt down the Christians. They said, do whatever you want to with them, Saul. They're unpopular anyhow. Drag him in the streets, whip him, stone him, torture him, kill him. You mentioned the name Saul. From Tarsus to the early Christians, I'll tell you what they would do. They would run, hide, lock the doors, leave town, dive underground. I've been in the catacombs of Rome, where they hid. He was mean. I mean, terribly mean. But remember the story. One day, Saul's making it for Damascus, heard about some new Christians, flies into a rage, takes off for Damascus in the story. He said he was angry. There's a little sentence in the story that says on his way to Damascus, he was breathing out threatenings and slaughter, which meant he felt rather strong about the idea. Right? That's strong. That's strong. But on this journey, right? According to the story, as Saul was making his way to Damascus, the good Lord looks down out of heaven and says, there's my man Saul. He's got to be something else. And according to the story, this great light shines out of heaven, knocks him flat right off his horse, grinds his face in the dirt, and blinds him for 3 days. The good Lord using recruiting tools we can't use when you're Lord, right? To make a long story short, Saul from Tarsus becomes converted to Christianity. He becomes Paul, the great leader, the apostle. And without a doubt, the good Lord got him a dandy, one he didn't have to pump up every month. In one of his later writings, he said, the things I once hated, I now love. The things I once loved, I now hate. See, that's strong. Here's the key to the good life. Learn to put everything you've got into everything you do. Whatever you are doing, pour it on. It will quickly open up into opportunity or quickly disclose to you that you ought to be doing something else. The delusion is, if I had a better job, I'd really pour it on. See, that's delusion. Wherever you are, pour it on. Don't give somebody half a job for a day's pay. Pour it on. See, that'll help change your life. Get rid of this disease. Here's the next attitude. Disease, indecision, mental paralysis. The guy can't make up his mind and it becomes a disease. Pretty soon he knows he's got it. The guy says, well, I know I'm on the fence, but he says, what if I get off on the wrong side? Listen. After a while, it doesn't matter. Just get off. Any side will do. A life full of adventure is a life full of many decisions. The ones that turn out to be wrong give you better experience to make better decisions. So don't see how many decisions you can get out of. See how many you can get into. That's where the adventure is. So shake off this disease indecision. The next one is doubt. Doubt's like a plague, and one of the worst is self-doubt. There are many, but that's one of the worst. The guy doubts himself, doubts if it'll last that long for him, doubts if he can do that well, doubts if he can make that much, doubts if he can accomplish all that. A chronic excellent self-doubter. You can imagine what damage that does to your future. So here's the key. Turn this coin over and become a believer. And there's many things to believe in. One of the majors is yourself. The understanding of self-worth is the beginning of progress. Now, if those three don't get you, this one will worry. That's a devastating disease. Worry. Worry causes health problems, social problems, personal problems, family problems. It's devastating. Worry long enough, it'll drop you to your knees. Could reduce you to begging. I know how bad this one is. I used to have it bad. I used to be known as a super warrior. Not a super warrior, no super warrior. My family wished I'd have been a warrior. I got those years to make up for, but I'll tell you what my advice to you is. Do what I finally did on worry. Give it up. Who needs it? I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's worth it. It took me almost 1 year to kick the worry habit, and it was not an easy year. It was one of the toughest years I ever spent. But I finally got that monkey off my back, and I discovered you could live the most incredible life free of worry. Not free of challenge, not free of difficulty, free of worry. I learned how to do it, and you can. Here's the next attitude, disease over caution. Some people never will have much. They're too cautious. Now, you can also be too reckless, but you can also be too cautious. This is called the timid approach to life, and my caution was always the risk. Risk used to drive me right up the wall. I used to say, what if this happens? It's called the language of the poor. What if this happens? And on top of that, if this was to happen, look at the fix I be, and I better not try. I could always ace myself out. Then I'll tell you what changed my whole life when I finally discovered it's all risky. The minute you were born, it got risky. If you think trying is risky, wait till they hand you the bill for not trying. If you think investing is risky, wait till you get the tab for not investing. See, it's all risky. Getting married is risky. Having children is risky. Going into business is risky. Investing your money is risky. It's all risky. I'll tell you how risky life is. You're not going to get out alive. That's risky, the Englishman says. Well, if that's the way it's going to work out, let's give it a go, right? That's what it's for. Give it a go, somebody says. Yeah, but I'm looking for safety and security. Fine. Then huddle in a corner. We'll cover you with a sheet, bring you 3 meals a day, and we'll protect you, feed you, look after you, care for you. We won't let anything happen to you, and you'll probably live to be 100, the guy said. Well, yeah, I'd live to be 100. But what a way to live, right? What a way to live safe and secure. Don't ask for security, ask for adventure. Better to live 30 years full of adventure than 100 years safe in the corner and seat. It's not important how long you live. What's important is how you live. Here's the next attitude disease. We're almost through with this motley list. In fact, we're almost through. Hang on. The next one is pessimism. Pessimism, the deadly disease of always looking on. The bad side, the problem side, the difficult side. Checking all the reasons why it can't be done, the poor pessimist leads an ugly life. He doesn't try to figure out what's right, he tries to figure out what's wrong. He doesn't look for virtue, he looks for faults. And when he finds him, he's delighted how ugly this is. The poor guy looks through the window, doesn't see the sunset. He sees the specks on the window. And this is the poor guy, right, who rushes up, takes such leave of his senses. This guy rushes up and he says, I've got 5 good reasons why it won't work. He's so dumb he doesn't know all you need is 1. He's got 5. To the pessimist, the glass is always half empty. To the optimist, the glass is half full. Why would the same measure affect people 2 different ways? Answer. It all depends on how you look at it. Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. The way we think they are affects us most. There's a subject we don't have time to get into tonight called better thinking habits. One of the major things Shov taught me when I met him. He said, poor thinking habits keeps most people poor, not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. And Shov taught me that the mind is like a factory, a mental factory. And whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory, and that's what builds the economic, social, financial fabric of your life. He quoted me a Bible phrase that says, as you think so, You become how awesome. When he talked about poor thinking habits, he had me. I used to start the day reading the morning newspaper. I mean, you can believe that or not. I'd get a cup of coffee and read the paper. I'd load up on wars and riots and murders and stabbings and killings and bank robberies and muggings and car wrecks and tragedies. I'd even read the back pages. I seemed to like that stuff for some weird reason. I'd load up on all that, and then I'd start the day. You can imagine